Hey guys, Raj Sanga of Car Security. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have another episode of Raj's Garage and we are going to be talking about my E30 M3 Coupe. Okay, so why an E30 and why an M3? Bit random, you may say. Well, back in 1993, when my business was probably a year or so old, business was doing quite well, I went out and bought an E30 325i convertible. Dark green, cloth interior, pure bog standard. Now, I spent a lot of time and a lot of money modifying that car. Changed the suspension, went to Bilstein's, interior retrim, color change, went to Boston Green. We'll throw some pictures up. Remus exhaust, Momo steering wheel, went through many sets of wheels, had a big audio install obviously, you know, car audio security. And I kept that car for about 6 years and during its life modified it, changed a few bits and pieces, tweaked it. In 1999 I had it featured in Performance BMW and there was 5 or 6 page spread of that car outlining what I'd done. Shortly after featuring that car, I decided to sell it. The business was doing quite well. I needed to get the business to another level and a lot of my personal funds were tied up in that car. So I sold that car, I think in 2000, and I got relatively strong money for that car. Well, definitely for back in 2000, put the money into the business. Now, fast forward 14, 15 years, wanted to get back into an E30. But this time wanted to get into an M3, the pinnacle of the E30 in my eyes. I couldn't afford one back in the day. Prices were slowly starting to creep up and I think I managed to find this car just at the cusp where the prices weren't going silly. So this particular car obviously wasn't like this, was a bog standard E30 M3 in Macau blue, actually had been repainted by a previous owner back in 2009. But it came with grey leather interior. In fact, that wasn't the interior that originally came with the car. It had cloth interior, so the interior had been upgraded at some point. It's actually Evo2 grey interior. I bought the car from an independent BMW specialist down in Guildford. As I said, you know, prices were creeping up, but I paid probably below market value. The car was pretty clean, loads of service history, and that's what really enticed me to buy this particular car. Color, the interior, service history, maintenance record. So yeah, done a deal, bought the car. Okay, those that know me know that I do not keep a car stock for this amount of time. You know, I have to start modifying it straight away. In this case, this particular car, before I'd even bought it, I'd already had a roadmap of what I wanted to do with the car. First and foremost, airlift performance 3/8 suspension, and that's what we did. Got the car within probably 2 weeks. The stock suspension was pulled out and we fitted airlift suspension. Now, for those that think, why have you fitted air ride to a sports car? Well, we're not talking about 1960s, you know, Mexican Impalas going up and down. This tech is totally different. So I'll show you that when we go for a drive, and then you'll understand that airlift suspension totally transformed this car. The car also needed a major service. It hadn't been serviced for a while. Gave it to Birds in Ivor. They serviced the car, sorted the tappets out. There's a little bit of a engine knock and so on. Timing was out. Birds Ivor did a fantastic job in rectifying those issues and delivered the car back in a state that I could actually drive and put some miles on and test that airlift suspension. Right, engine sorted, suspension sorted, kept it on the stock wheels over winter, put a few hundred miles on it, car was running beautiful. Now, April 2016, decided to change the interior. Now, if you recall, it came with grey leather interior, which is actually pretty good. It had been retrimmed by the previous owner, fantastic condition, ripped all that out. No, I didn't sell it, no, I didn't throw away. I've parked that interior. So I managed to source some Evo3, genuine Evo3 front Recaros from a seller in Germany. These are actually already retrimmed in black. Bought some new door cards, eBay, rear shelf, eBay. The rear bench was a lot more difficult to source because the rear bench in the M3s is different to the standard coupe bench. I think it's actually different to the convertibles. That was pretty difficult to source. Managed to find one, I think eBay or Facebook, had to pay a heavy premium for it. But new front seats and a complete second-hand interior sourced. Gave the whole interior to Dan at Lavish Automotive to retrim it. I didn't want to go with grey. I wanted a colour that would pop. And we have it here. It's a sort of cardinal red, but probably slightly darker, retrimmed. A lot of Alcantara, as you can see on the door cards and on the rear deck. I think Dan did a fantastic job on this interior. Let me know what you think. Does it go well with the blue external color? I think it does, pops really well. Also managed to source the M2 steering wheel, which is in this car, slightly smaller than the original steering wheel that this car came with. I think that sort of enhances the interior look of the car. And that's more or less the interior done. However, I still need black carpet. This is still riding with the grey carpet that came with the car. So if anyone knows of a black carpet for sale for an E30 M3 coupe, drop me a DM or drop a message below and we'll get in contact with you or whoever's got one. Car audio security. Obviously, car audio and security. Let's talk about those upgrades. We've now got the new Blaupunkt SQR 46 DAB in here, which is the sort of retro unit from back in the 90s, updated with DAB, USB, Bluetooth streaming and so on. I think originally prior to that I had a Kenwood in here. That unit is fantastic. There's a separate video we've done on that unit, so anyone who's got sort of 90s or late 80s car, that's actually the unit to go for. We'll throw a link up at the end of this episode and you can watch and learn all about that particular unit. Now, in terms of speakers, I wanted to keep it in the stock positions and not go too aggressive. Didn't want to chop up the door cards. So in the kick panels, we've got some Rockford P152S components. So it's a 5.25 inch component with a tweeter in the doors here and in the pods. And on the rear deck, we've got some P152 coaxials. Same speaker, but with the tweeter actually built in onto the actual speaker itself. Obviously needed to add some bass, and we have. Now check out this boot install. So right in the middle there we've got a 12-inch Rockford P2 subwoofer with a Rockford P1000X5 5-channel amp. That amp runs the front components, the rear coaxials on the rear deck, and also that subwoofer. We've also managed to incorporate the compressor and the airlift manifold into the boot design and put some airlift performance and cardio security logos there as well, with some nice LED lighting just to sort of give it that additional sort of high quality build look. All of this work was done in-house, so the boot install, the air ride install and the airlift controller, which I'll show you when we go out for a drive, all of this was done in-house. Okay, let's go back to some of the external mods. We'll start at the front. Now, this car didn't come with this lower lip, and neither did it come with this sort of carbon section that sits on the bottom. These lips now, the Evo 2 spoiler is no longer manufactured by BMW. Very, very, very difficult to get. I didn't want a copy part. This particular part is an original part, which I got from Canada of all places. I had to get it shipped over from Canada. It had been used, it had a little bit of damage, but it was the authentic part and that's what I wanted. I managed to source that, sent to the UK, had that done. The carbon lower sort of chin spoiler, lip spoiler, and at the rear, you've got this sort of carbon flap. These were sourced of a seller in Germany. A lot of guys use this seller, and these are all brand new parts. This rear sort of flap bolts on from underneath, and you can actually raise it to give it that sort of DTM look, so it can actually sit, I think, potentially 2 inches higher as well. For me, this is perfect. That's really the external aspect done bar the wheels, and we'll talk about the wheels in a few seconds. So front lip and rear flap sourced from a chap in Germany, and the front Evo spoiler from Canada. Okay, so let's talk about the wheels. These are actually my second set of Rotiform wheels on this car. First set I had were some 17-inch Rotiform OZTs. We'll throw some pictures up. 8.5 front, 9.5 rear. Nice dish on the back as well. I rocked that look for about 18 months. But actually I wanted something a bit more sort of a nod to the original BBS look. So that's why I went for these, the LHRs, which are currently sitting on the car. Same fitment again, 17s, 8.5 front, 9.5 rear. These are now been on the car probably about 3 years or so maybe. Done quite a few thousand kilometers with these wheels on there. They need now a little bit of a refurbishing, so I think over winter the wheels will come off. Voodoo Ellie, you're my man. These are going to go to Voodoo Ellie. He's going to strip them back, refurbish them and polish those lips ready for 2022 show season. So what's underneath the bonnet? You know, a lot of guys have modified these E30 M3s and put S54, E46 M3 lumps in there. There's some cars out there with V10 lumps. What have I got? Well, completely stock S14 2.3 4-cylinder engine. This has done about 200,000 kilometers. It's been serviced well, it's been maintained exceptionally well, in fact. Never let me down, touch wood. There is no wood, but touch wood, you know what I mean? Touch some wood for me, actually. It needs a bit of TLC. It does need a bit of cleaning, a bit of detailing. I actually haven't touched this engine bay in years. And the reason being is I've got a carbon airbox with the complete Alpha N chip and everything. I'll show you that. So I thought, well, you know what, once that's installed, I'll give the complete engine bay a detail. Not being able to find somebody to install that, I actually have now found somebody to install that. Sort of old school, independent BMW specialist. None of these new school BMW dealers would know where to start. They wouldn't know where to start on this car. There's no OBD port. You can't connect a laptop to this car and check out the diagnostics. So hopefully I'll do another episode showing once the airbox is in, what it looks like and how it's transformed the car. But one thing this year that I did, which really transformed the car, changed the whole drive, the noise, the feel and the performance, was change the exhaust. This actually came with a Super Sprint. So a previous owner had put a Super Sprint exhaust. That exhaust was blowing. Managed to get a brand new Super Sprint exhaust, which we actually do sell on the tuning store. So that's from the back all the way up to the downpipe. That has transformed this car. It is such a joy to drive. Definitely improve the performance. Feels quicker, and that sort of exhaust note now is a proper E30 M3 exhaust note. This car was actually featured by Performance BMW back in December 2018. Whole car, obviously before the exhaust, but the engine, the interior and so on. Last time I had a car featured in Performance BMW, I ended up selling it the year afterwards. This car is not for sale, so please don't DM me. I'm not looking to sell this car. This car is a business tool. I do use it for promoting the business, be it wheels, be it audio, especially the suspension. Now, the airlift suspension that's on this car, some of you purists are thinking, why have you done that? Well, from a business perspective, I've lost count on the number of kits, E30 kits we have sold on the back of this car. This, since 2016-ish to even up until this year, this car has been to probably 40 or 50 shows up and down the country. It's been obviously shared on social media and so on. I've even taken customers for test drives. My staff have taken this car and used it for test drives as well. Off the back of that, we have sold a load of E30 kits. So me modifying this car, using it for the business, was actually perfect for selling E30 kits. So that's answering a lot of questions and some of the sort of, I wouldn't say hate, but some of the negativity I get by, why have you put airlift, air ride suspension on an E30 M3? Well, that answers that question. Don't forget, all the mods I've done on this car are fully reversible. I can put the original suspension back on, I still have the original wheels, I still have the original interior. So if I did want to sell this car 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, I can put it back to OEM spec, sell the car. Now, I think it's time we get in, go for a drive. You can experience that airlift performance setup, and we'll talk about the left-hand drive. Yes, steering wheel's on the left-hand side here, guys. And we'll talk about the gearbox as well, because it's an unusual gearbox. Right, we are in the E30 M3 Coupe. First thing you may notice, I'm sitting on the left hand side of the vehicle. Now here's a fact, all E30 M3s were left hand drive. Did you know that? So every single E30 M3 that left the factory in Germany were manufactured in left hand drive. That's over 15,000 M3 coupes, the E30s. Now in the UK, there was a company back in the day, still exists, Birds in Ivor. They're the guys that service this car. They used to convert left-hand drive to right-hand drive. I don't know how many conversions they did. I'm sure some clever dude who's hopefully watching this channel can find out and drop a comment. But yeah, so all E30 M3s were left-hand drive. Also, gearbox. This is called a dogleg gearbox. Dogleg? What's a dog's leg? Well, the dogleg gearbox refers to the shift pattern between first and second gear, sort of up and over shift pattern. So in a traditional gearbox, the H pattern, first is up and left, second is down and left, and then third is up and to the right. On a dogleg gearbox, first gear is down and left, second gear is then up, and third gear is down. The reason why that is because these cars were predominantly built for motorsport, and the two most used gears are second and third. So it's easier to have second up, third down. So it literally is up and down movement rather than left and second, or you might get into fourth. So there's another fun fact for you. Now, earlier on, if you recall, I said I've done quite a few thousand kilometers in this car, not miles. Well, the Dash, being a German car, left-hand drive car, is in kilometers. Now, some cars have been converted to miles. I've left this as kilometers, and that's why I referred to as kilometers back then. So, you know, how do you know what speed you're doing? Well, it's fairly easy. 100 kilometers per hour is 62 miles per hour. So 50 kilometers per hour is 31 miles per hour. Fun fact 3. Full of facts today, aren't I, guys? So around the car, very small, very compact. You know, I can touch the door card, don't have to stretch very far. Gives you an idea of how small these cars and how small these cabins were back in the day. Should we give it some beans?
Give
well,
some beans.
Let's give it some beans, shall we? Okay, it's a quick car, but not a quick car by modern standards. You know, back in the day, these were like 0 to 60 in 7.5 seconds. And for the 90s, that was a quick car. But it's all about the driving experience. You get the best out of this car when you are revving it hard. You know, you're giving it beans at between 5,000 and 7,000 revs. It doesn't really give you much between the lower down rev range. So you've really got to have this car at full chat to get the best performance out of this engine, high revving engine. There is actually a trip computer which BMW installed in these cars, albeit that's in German. But I didn't know until earlier this year there's actually a 0 to 60 timer, so I'm gonna give it a go with the help of Igor. Let's go. $60. Oh, not bad. 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds. That's not bad. Shows that it's actually a decent engine. And that super sprint exhaust that I mentioned to you early on, that has made a massive difference to the performance of this car, the fun factor, the noise, really nice sort of throaty noise from that super sprint. Previously the exhaust was blown. 0 to 60 was probably 10 seconds, not 6.5 seconds. It's quite satisfying to know that a car that's over 30 years old is actually probably giving you better performance now than it did when it left the factory. Also, don't forget, that's down to the Airlift 3H performance suspension. The controller is here. You've got all the ride heights, clear indicator of each corner's ride height, and this suspension, very forgiving. It doesn't crash about. It's not hard or harsh, so I'm not feeling all the bumps and all the sort of camber in the road. See, driving a straight line. So, you know, the complete setup, the package, the air ride, the exhaust, the engine which is on point, that's without also the air intake. Can't wait till the air intake goes on here. That will improve the car, improve the performance and that sound. You know, that air intake will throw so much air into the engine. It's going to be sick. Can't wait until that's done. Okay guys, that's the end of this particular episode. As always, thanks for watching. Like, that helps our Cast TV YouTube algorithm, pushes this video right up so other people can see it, so make sure you like. Only takes 1 second. In fact, hit like now. Comment any questions you have, drop them down below. We'll do our best to answer them, be it suspension, wheels, audio, whatever it is, just drop them down below. Share and subscribe, that's very important. Also, some of you asked about Slam Sanctuary clothing and merch, for example what I'm wearing now. There'll be a link at the end of this episode and you can click through to the Slam Sanctuary website and buy all the latest merch. Now the next episode, well, keeping with the theme of E30 M3s, I think we might as well talk about my E30 M3 convertible. Bought this earlier this year in the summer. If you've not seen that video, the collection video, we'll throw a link up and you can watch that video. This needs a bit of TLC, but we'll talk about that in the next episode. Guys, thanks for watching. See you soon.